Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Our next weather maker is a front to our south that starts to lift our way toward the end of the holiday weekend. I'll show you what to expect from it.
Tariff threats. President Donald Trump threatened new tariffs this morning, the targets and the impact it's having on the stock market.
Plus, new information in the crash that killed a Raleigh man. What newly released toxicology reports are revealing.
And we give you this live look from outside our tower cam here. And today it is the start of a nice stretch of weather. We're feeling it right now. Good Friday afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Such a pretty mix of sun and clouds out there, and the temperatures feeling fabulous, as well as the muggy meter. Elizabeth Gardner has your Memorial Day weekend forecast.
High pressure here has delivered a lovely, almost Canadian feeling air mass, but down to the south, we have a front that's right now stationary, but will start to lift northward over the next couple of days. Now, we've got a beautiful day today and tomorrow, and I'll tell you what, I got to look at the short range model for Sunday, and it's actually trending a bit drier as well. But we will see a disturbance that is likely to come our way Sunday night. It is trending drier on Monday as well. So we continue to see some pretty large changes in the newest runs of the models over the last 12 hours or so. Here's a look at Sunday morning, and you can see a little bit of cloud cover here on Sunday morning, but watch how much of the rain stays down to the south for a good bit of the day. That's 3, 4, 5 o'clock. So maybe around dinner time, we start to see some rain rolling in, and then we're going to see a wave riding along that front. But very quickly, all of that dives to the south. So maybe a quick sprinkle in the morning there at 8 a.m., and then after that, we're clearing from Monday. And that's a lot different than what we were looking at yesterday. So a lot less rain in our forecast, a lot more dry time for your holiday weekend. A small chance of a shower on Monday, and then we could see some sunshine later in the afternoon. Like I said, I'm going to show you the high resolution model of what can happen as we get into Sunday and Monday in just a few minutes.
Elizabeth, thank you. We're getting closer to seeing body cam and dash cam video connected to a deadly Raleigh crash in October of last year. That crash followed a chase involving a state trooper, and we're learning more about his condition when the crash happened. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan is here now with what's been released and what we are still waiting to see. Chelsea.
Yeah, so it will be just a few moments, or we think today, for this dash cam video to be out. We're awaiting the release of these body camera videos, but we have received the autopsy report, and that does note that Tyrone Mason's blood alcohol content was above the legal limit at the time of the crash. Now, something troopers did not know when they initiated a chase, which they soon canceled. The autopsy report shows Mason crashed into a concrete slab shortly after. Reports show Trooper Garrett Macario and Sergeant Matthew Morrison in a conversation that is heard on this body camera video. Documents show they discussed lying about their involvement in the chase, something District Attorney Lauren Freeman says was to get out of the investigating the incident, not to hide any wrongdoing. Now, those troopers won't be charged. A judge ordered the release of that video yesterday. State Highway Patrol has 4 days to release it with redactions of sensitive video. We'll, of course, keep you posted.
Chelsea, thanks for that. Wall Street has taken a hit after President Donald Trump's recent tariff threats. This morning, Trump threatened a 50% tax on all imports from the EU and a tariff on Apple products made outside the U.S. WRAL's Eric Miller is in the Life Center right now monitoring the stock market. And first off, WRAL's Noah Klein joins us in studio with the latest on this trade war, Noah.
Jeff, let's start with that Apple piece to the tariff puzzle, if you will. President Trump put out a post on social media telling Apple to make its iPhones in the U.S. or get ready to pay more to put them together. Trump said Apple would get hit with a 25% tariff. Last week, the president said he wasn't happy with an announcement from Apple CEO Tim Cook. Cook said the company plans to make iPhones at some recently built plants in India. A Trump administration official said Cook and Trump met at the White House earlier this week. It's not clear exactly what they talked about. Apple now joins Amazon, Walmart, and other major U.S. companies in the White House's crosshairs here as they try to respond to the pressures put on from tariffs. Bank analysts estimate a $1,200 iPhone made in America would jump in price anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500. The market, meanwhile, is responding to this announcement along with threats of a 50% tariff on EU. WRAL's Eric Miller in the WRAL Live Center now with a look at the big picture here right now on Wall Street. Eric.
Well, no, you see it right there behind me. This chart kind of telling the story for the day. A lot of red all the way across the board. These are the numbers for the Dow Jones. We swing over here. You can see it's pretty much all major U.S. indices. You're looking at the NASDAQ right here. This drop right here. This is what the starting bell did today. Stocks down almost a full percentage point for the NASDAQ. There's been some slight recovery over the course of today, but still down on the day. A similar story as we take a look at the S&P. That initial big drop following President Trump's announcement with a slight recovery after that. We'll be waiting to see where these numbers end up over the course of trading today.
Eric, thank you. Investigators are working to determine what caused a house fire in Raleigh. Flames broke out around 12:30 this morning, and they caused extensive damage to a Raleigh home. The WRAL breaking news tracker was at the home on Winding Trail. This is off Lynn Road, and crews worked to put the fire out. One person was able to get out of the home safely. A 19-year-old woman is recovering after an overnight crash in Raleigh. Around 1:30 this morning, a woman was hurt in a motorcycle crash in Raleigh. This happened on Carpenter Fire Station Road. The woman was taken to the hospital. Troopers say she was the only one involved, and speed was a factor.
We have a live look right now out at RDU International Airport. There'll be millions of people headed to airports all around the country or hitting the roads ahead of Memorial Day weekend. It's the first major holiday travel weekend since Real ID requirements were put in place for air travel. WRAL's Ali Kadlabar shows us how travelers are dealing with the change.
From check-in to security, we've seen these lines fluctuate throughout the morning. Most travelers I spoke with tell me that they've been having a Real ID for a while. Others weren't too concerned about the new requirement.
We actually got our Real IDs back when they were first starting to come out, but then I kind of had a panic that maybe I didn't have the Real ID, so we double-checked. But yeah, we are all set.
But we have our Real IDs and we have our passports, and so we're fine.
I have my Real ID, but I think most of the people in my family do not. So we have our passports, so it's not going to be a bother.
And it wasn't a bother, as RDU officials tell WRAL that it hasn't been as busy as expected today. But this video from around 6 this morning shows lines still stretched across the building. RDU says the new requirement hasn't been much of an issue since it took effect 2 weeks ago. A majority of passengers are using the Real ID. Around 30% have been using a passport, and 13% used another acceptable ID. Again, we've seen those lines grow and shrink, so just make sure you get here early and have an acceptable form of ID. Reporting at RDU, Ali Kadlabar, WRAL News.
Now, if you're driving this weekend, WRAL's Kelsey Coffey has you covered ahead at 12:30. The prices you can expect at the pump while traveling.
Everything is back to normal at the Fayetteville 911 dispatch center after a disruption overnight. Around 10:30 last night, workers reported smoke inside the 911 center. Fire crews evacuated the building. 911 calls were rerouted to the Cumberland County Dispatch Center. Fire crews found the cause of the smoke and ensured workers were safe. Now to Washington, where there are new developments in that deadly shooting of 2 Israeli embassy staff members. This morning, the suspected killer is facing several federal charges as prosecutors investigate this case as an act of terrorism. Aaron Gilchrist has details about the investigation.
Overnight, a solemn vigil outside the White House to remember the lives of Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky. The young couple who worked together at the Israeli embassy in Washington were shot and killed after an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum.
We have great memories, but the future is gone.
Robert Milgram says his daughter was passionate about the environment and Israel and that she had met Yaron while working at the embassy.
She was as close to perfect as any human could be, and she was recently very much in love with Yaron.
Milgram says he only learned after their deaths that Yaron, an Israeli citizen, had recently purchased an engagement ring and planned to propose next week in Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling their alleged killer, Elias Rodriguez, a brutal terrorist.
The terrorists who cruelly gunned them down did so for one reason and one reason alone. He wanted to kill Jews.
Authorities say Rodriguez flew from Chicago to D.C. one day before the shooting with a declared firearm in his checked baggage. They say surveillance video shows Rodriguez shooting the victims from behind, then again at closer range before going into the museum. Officers saying they recovered a handgun and 21 spent shell casings at the scene after they escorted a shouting Rodriguez out of the museum. Rodriguez now faces multiple charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder and murder of foreign officials. Investigators say more charges could be pending as they look into this as a possible hate crime and act of terror.
That was Aaron Gilchrist reporting.
Also getting a new look at a plane crash into a San Diego neighborhood. A fiery explosion. It was caught on camera from the backyard of a nearby home. This morning, we learned that 6 people were on board the plane when it hit a power line in foggy weather. Among the passengers was a music talent agent and the former drummer for the heavy metal band The Devil Wears Prada. Investigators do not believe anyone on the plane survived. It crashed into a Navy-owned housing community, a military area, destroying one home and hitting several others. Nobody in the neighborhood was seriously hurt, but 8 people were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation and minor injuries.
Next at noon, Harvard is suing the Trump administration. How the Ivy League school says his ban on foreign students violates the Constitution.
Also, more local layoffs, the reason more jobs are being cut at RTI.
Plus, PJ recall, the pajama line from Macy's being recalled, and why.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Just within the last few hours, a federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's attempt to prevent Harvard from enrolling foreign students. Caroline Shively has the story from Washington.
Harvard hits back in its battle with the White House. On Friday, Harvard filed a lawsuit against the administration over the government's decision to block the school from enrolling foreign students.
We are one and the same.
The administration announced the ban on Thursday, claiming Harvard created an unsafe environment on campus, including allowing violent protests.
Harvard brought these consequences upon themselves. They have promoted and allowed violent activity on campus. They have allowed anti-Semitism, participation with CCP and Chinese infiltration and influence on their campus.
A federal judge temporarily blocked the administration's move on Thursday. Meanwhile, the school's nearly 7,000 foreign students are left in limbo.
It's another pattern of the Trump administration taking authoritarian actions. In the United States, the president does not have the power to punish people, target people for punishment because he doesn't like their politics.
Democrats argue the negative effects could be long-term.
This action is just the antithesis of what we've been doing to try to get good talent to stay and try to get immigrants to be part of our economy because we actually need their skills.
Administration officials are also accusing Columbia University of ignoring discrimination against Jewish students.
The highly anticipated Make America Healthy Again report calls today's children the sickest generation in American history. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. shared the report during a White House event. It points to 4 major causes in chronic health challenges: ultra-processed foods, environmental toxins, lack of exercise, and overprescribing medicine. However, it offers few concrete solutions or a plan to pay for new programs under massive budget cuts. Kennedy also backtracked on his effort to determine the cause of autism by September. He now says it might take another 6 months. A Russian stowaway who slipped onto a Delta Airlines flight from New York to Paris faces up to 6 months in prison. A jury convicted Svetlana Dali on a stowaway charge after a brief trial. Jury selection and opening statements were held on Tuesday. Dali took the stand on Wednesday, acknowledged she did not have a boarding pass, and told the court she walked onto the plane without being asked for one.
A verdict is expected today in the Kim Kardashian Paris robbery trial. 9 men and 1 woman are facing charges including armed robbery, kidnapping, and conspiracy. 8 of them deny involvement. 2 have pleaded guilty to some of the charges. Kardashian was tied up and robbed at gunpoint nearly 9 years ago during Paris Fashion Week in 2016. In testimony earlier this month, she said she thought she was going to die.
Take a look at this, a time-lapse video capturing a huge thunderstorm swirling across Oklahoma on Sunday. This was in Freedom, Oklahoma, northwest of Oklahoma City. The state experienced severe weather over the weekend. But no concerns for severe weather today. In fact, it is just beautiful and ideal out there.
Yeah, Elizabeth, that looked like it was trying to do something, trying to form into something.
Yeah, that was a tornado forming for sure. Yeah, that was a really dramatic video there. And again, as Renee said, nothing dramatic here for us. As a matter of fact, even over the weekend, when we get into a chance of rain right now, it looks like we could have some thunderstorms. We don't currently have a risk for severe storms, so that's a good thing. Live look at Southern Pines right now. There are a few people out enjoying this absolutely incredibly stellar day. It's a little bit on the breezy side there in Southern Pines. You can see some of those flags whipping around a bit. 71 is our temperature, but our dew point remains way down here at 43. That's almost an unheard of dew point for this time of year. Typically, dew points this time of year are easily getting into the 60s and eventually 70s, especially as we get into June. And that's a very muggy feel. And of course, this feels more like I don't know, February or something like that. It's pretty incredible. We'll climb only into the mid 70s this afternoon. It stays nice and cool. Right now, it is 63 in Roxborough and 67 in South Hill. 73 in Southern Pines and in Goldsboro. So it's a very cool afternoon in our forecast. 72 Holly Springs right now. It's 70 in Cary, 69 in Garner and in Knightdale. If you're going to be traveling this evening, you know that it's going to be busy out there. And I feel like there's really no good time to get out there on the roads. I feel like even by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, those roads are already packed. But at least there are no weather issues to deal with. We'll see clear skies all the way through the evening and overnight tonight. Temperatures will be in the mid 70s from about 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock before we start to cool things down. Here's a look at when we start to see some changes. High pressure system keeping us nice and dry and beautiful today and tomorrow. But then, as we talked about at the beginning of the newscast, we're going to have a stationary front that sets up to our south on Sunday. And at 6 p.m., this is a look at moisture. So not only will there be enough moisture potentially for some rain, but it is likely to feel a little bit muggier as well. But then watch that front just take a nice dive to the south after Sunday night, and we really dry things out for Monday. And that's just new in the last 12 hours. We were talking about that this morning, but this time yesterday, it looked like Sunday was going to be wet overnight and then pretty wet for us on Monday as well. And so this is an update in our weekend rain chances. And you can see we're looking pretty dry Monday. Couldn't rule out a stray shower maybe first thing in the morning up until around 10 a.m. or so. But other than that, it's looking good. Our details for the Memorial Day holiday. Beautiful today, beautiful Saturday, increasing clouds on Sunday, late afternoon into the evening and overnight, definitely some rain. But then it tapers off pretty quickly on Monday, and Monday is definitely trending drier. So that's great if you had outdoor plans. Maybe you have plans to go to the beach. This is such a pretty shot of Carolina Beach, isn't it? Look at all those people out there already getting their Memorial Day holiday underway, enjoying that beautiful beach. We're looking at cool temperatures there, though. As a matter of fact, at Ricel Beach, 77 for today and tomorrow, 76 in Emerald Isle, 76 in Ocracoke. And then on Sunday, again, late day thunderstorms, just like we'll see here, mid 70s to around 80. In the mountains, we're looking at a pretty nice day to start with tomorrow, but late in the day, especially down south, we'll have a few showers and thunderstorms, highs in the 60s and 70s in the mountains on Saturday, and on Sunday also a chance of a shower or thunderstorm, but doesn't look like a washout. Don't forget, we do have a moderate rip current danger along the coast. Keep that in mind if you're headed there this weekend. We're going to see more rain in our forecast Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday we start to dry out, but it's nice that most of it is going to end up staying away from the holiday weekend.
Elizabeth, thanks. Funding fight. There are 3 different figures floating around to determine how much more money will go to help Western North Carolina. Coming up at 4, we're looking into why the state House, Senate, and governor are all asking for different amounts and what needs to happen to get money to people in need.
Air travel issues. We're fact-checking claims about what has blocked efforts to upgrade air traffic control systems amid major issues at airports. What our PolitiFact team found at 5:30. And recall alerts still ahead at noon. Thousands of infant pajamas are being recalled, pulled from clothing racks. Next, why officials say this particular brand of pajamas could be dangerous for babies.
Plus, big comeback? Big Lots is reopening several of its stores after filing for bankruptcy. The locations opening up in the Triangle. Five on Your Side has a recall to warn parents about a pajama line for infants. More than 16,000 of these Holiday Lane infant-footed pajamas from Macy's have been recalled. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the elastic around the ankles could restrict blood circulation. The PJs were sold between March 2024 and January of this year. You can contact the company for a refund.
WRAL has learned more layoffs are expected at RTI International. This comes as RTI is trying to deal with millions of dollars in federal cuts. The organization says it's cutting another 170 U.S.-based staff members, including 76 positions in the Triangle. The cuts come months after the organization said it would eliminate at least 525 jobs in North Carolina by May 1st. RTI's overall workforce has been reduced by about 35% this year. The organization has now created an employee emergency relief fund to help eligible former RTI staff members.
Big Lots has released a list of stores reopening, including some here in Wake County. The discount retail chain announced more than 70 additional stores will open on June 5th. Big Lots said the openings are in 9 states, including North Carolina. We know 2 stores in Fayetteville are expected to reopen this month, and another store will reopen in Fuquay-Varina at a later date.
More retailers are considering whether to hike prices to offset U.S. tariffs on imported goods. Analysts say Adidas and Puma are likely to raise prices for running shoes and sportswear, following Nike, which will do so starting next week. Ralph Lauren had planned to raise prices on some items for the fall, but is now looking at additional increases. It says its core customers are less price sensitive and are continuing to spend. But Ross Stores is in no rush, as it is wary of turning off its bargain hunting customer base.
The spring home buying season is off to a slow start. The National Association of Realtors says existing home sales fell 0.5% last month. That's the slowest April pace since 2009, according to the new data. Home sales were 100,000 below expectations, and April sales were down 2% compared to a year ago. Inventory is up, but potential home buyers face high prices and mortgage rates near 7%. Mortgage rates climbed to their highest level in 3 months this week.
Federal Trade Commission is dismissing a lawsuit it began against PepsiCo. The lawsuit filed in January accused PepsiCo of giving unfair pricing advantages to Walmart in order to undercut its competition. That suit was previously supported by the FTC's Democratic chairwoman and 2 other Democratic commissioners. New Republican FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson says the lawsuit was based on political reasons and was rushed to force the hand of the Trump administration to prosecute it.
Memorial Day travel. More than 40 million people are expected to travel over the holiday weekend. Why gas prices are trending lower.
Penny problems. The penny is about to enter retirement. Next up, how that could affect your daily life. And here are your winning NC Education lottery numbers on your screen there. More than pennies just waiting for you.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your #1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Right now, 12:30, the busy holiday weekend is underway, and travel is expected to shatter records this year.
We are monitoring conditions of the roads and in the skies. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey shows us what drivers can look forward to as they fill up this weekend.
We are seeing the lowest Memorial Day gas prices since 2021, according to Gas Buddy. We'll give you a look now at prices here at this Exxon on Gorman Street in Raleigh, $2.99 a gallon. We're seeing the same thing across the street at the BP. Today, gas prices in North Carolina are below the national average. New numbers released from AAA earlier this morning show the average price of gas today in our state is $2.88 a gallon. It was $3.36 this same time last year. Gas prices were at the highest in June 2022, averaging $4.66 a gallon. Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy recommends tracking gas prices in different areas along your road trip. Neighboring states may have even lower prices.
Using an app like Google Maps or Gas Buddy or Waze can show you the low prices, especially if you're heading out of the state. If you're heading across the state line into South Carolina, you're going to want to wait to fill your tank up. Gas prices a bit lower in South Carolina. They're also about 15 cents lower in Tennessee.
If you want to find the cheapest gas prices here in the Triangle, head to our website, WRAL.com, and search Fuel Tracker. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
We're getting some new information after a 9-hour standoff in Chatham County ended with a deputy shooting a man. Sky 5 was over that scene on Lambert Chapel Road in Bear Creek. We first brought you this story as breaking news in our 6 a.m. newscast yesterday. Deputies say Paul Rader fired at them as they tried to serve an involuntary commitment order. That led to a 9-hour standoff and shootout. It ended when a deputy shot Rader. Chatham County Sheriff's Office says he'll be arrested when he's released from the hospital. He faces charges including attempted murder. No deputies were hurt.
Investigators are working to catch the person responsible for a string of break-ins at businesses along I-95. Take a look at this security video. In it, you can see a man stealing from the cash drawer of Stacy's Country Kitchen. Owner Stacy Holmes tells us he got in by cutting out the front door's glass and avoiding the building's alarm system.
Breaking the seal around it, it didn't mess with the wires that would trigger the alarm system. Because we were wondering, are we targeted? You know, is this someone that we've upset?
When the security video was posted online, other business owners came forward sharing their stories of break-ins. Over the last 2 weeks, at least 3 other businesses were targeted in the Harnett County area.
Dozens of Raleigh police officers were promoted this morning. The department held a ceremony to recognize the 24 officers. It was held inside Providence Church on Glenwood Avenue. It included a new deputy chief to fill the void left by Chief Rico Boyce's promotion to the top spot. Carolina Hurricanes have some work to do if they're going to get promoted in the Eastern Conference Final. It's an important Game 3 ahead in this series. They are down 2-0 after getting shut out by the Florida Panthers last night at the Lenovo Center. Panthers scored 3 times in the first period, went on to win 5-0. Canes fans we spoke with say they really hope the team gets some kind of spark in Game 3 in Florida.
I know in the past we've had some struggles with playing on the road, but I have confidence in our team and our coaching staff, and I think that we definitely have some hope, and I'll be rooting for them along the way.
Keep that hope alive. All the Caniacs will be rooting for a win in Game 3 tomorrow night at 8, and after the game, we'll have exclusive insight and expert analysis on Canes post-game exclusive live. That's tomorrow night, 11:15 on WRAL.
One bright spot during Game 2 at Lenovo Center. Deborah Morgan sounded the siren going into the third period. One day after her retirement from WRAL, she was honored by the Canes. And we celebrated Deborah's 32 years at WRAL all this week before her last newscast on Wednesday.
I love that jersey, 32, right? The Department of Treasury made its final order of penny blanks this month. And Jared Halpern explains how this could lead to a price hike.
President Trump wants to make the penny extinct.
And we are now a step closer to making that happen. The U.S. Mint said Thursday it has made its final order of the materials used to make pennies, meaning it will stop putting new pennies into circulation by early next year. After that, it will be time to start saying a nickel for your thoughts, or just use your card to pay.
We're moving to a cashless society. People use credit cards or debit cards and so on. So the penny is actually not being used as much.
But by 2026, there likely won't be enough pennies to use in cash transactions, so businesses will need to start rounding up, which will raise prices for consumers.
Prices will now be rounded up to the nearest dollar, which means that most customers will end up paying 1 penny more than they were before.
The move is the culmination of a long bipartisan effort to do away with the lowest denomination of American currency. The penny, worth 1 cent, costs nearly 4 cents to produce, but it still has its fans who say they'd like to see it stick around.
I know that it costs more to make a penny than it's actually worth, but we're big fans of the penny. Keep the penny.
Meanwhile, some business owners who rely on pennies to make a living say they're considering legal action.
Maybe we should take a trip to Washington and ask to speak to President Trump and Elon Musk and see if we can cut a deal.
Lawmakers introduced 2 bills this year that would permanently kill the penny, but there is no vote scheduled for either of them.
Save your pennies, penny saved, penny earned. Renee was just saying these, all the sayings are gone now. It was Jared Halpern reporting.
We'll have to come up with new sayings, perhaps. Summer water safety. Before your family hits the pool, lake, or beach, what you need to know to keep everyone safe.
Plus, make the most of this weekend where you can find food trucks, live music, and get a taste of soul.
Download the WRAL app to stay in the know on breaking news, important weather information, and local stories that matter to you, all on your streaming device. The Raleigh Convention Center will come alive with all things anime.
And you can get some soul food at Durham Central Park. Time for a look at your out and about weekend best bets.
Tomorrow, eat from some of the best food trucks in the area at the Taste of Soul at Durham Central Park. In addition to great eats, the event will feature a bounce house, games, and a DJ. It's a lot of fun for the whole family. It runs from 3 to 8 p.m. Admission is free.
Animazement is back at the Raleigh Convention Center this weekend. Animazement is an annual convention that celebrates Japanese culture and animation. Enjoy concerts, educational panels, unique artwork, and much more. And all the fun got started last night. It runs through Sunday, and tickets are still available.
Costumes are welcome. And Darkness Rising will host its 8th festival in Moore Square tomorrow in Raleigh. The group organizes free events that put a spotlight on music and mental health in the Black community. The event will feature live music, an African dance class, and connect people with free mental health resources. It runs from 2 to 6 p.m. Saturday in Moore Square. For more weekend fun, you can go to WRAL.com and search Out and About.
Summer water safety. As summer approaches, it's a time for fun in the sun, but also a time to be vigilant. Ahead, the precautions you can put in place to save lives.
And hurricane season. It starts in less than 2 weeks. Why officials are urging you to prepare now.
A reminder for you as law enforcement officers are urging drivers to buckle up this Memorial Day weekend. The governor's highway safety program's Memorial Day Click It or Ticket campaign kicked off this week. It runs through June 1st. The annual statewide campaign that promises safe driving by buckling your seatbelt. And so far this year, sad to report, 158 unbuckled passengers or drivers died in crashes.
May is Drowning Prevention Month. Each year, more than 4,000 people in the U.S. lose their lives to unintentional drowning. According to the CDC, drowning is also the leading cause of death among children ages 1 to 4, and the second leading cause of unintentional injury-related death among children ages 5 to 14. Whether you're at a backyard pool, a lake, or the ocean, experts say putting multiple layers of protection in place can save lives.
Things like barriers and alarms, blocking unsupervised access to water, constant, capable, undistracted supervision of adults, assigning water watchers, going to lifeguarded pools and beaches as well, learning how to swim, and increasing our water competency skills of all people.
And the expert says people should never swim alone. Even strong swimmers are at risk.
I'm Eric Miller in the WRAL Live Center. Breaking in just the last couple of minutes, Fayetteville police have announced an arrest in a May 9th homicide. This year, this is Stacy McCrowley, a 44-year-old from Fayetteville. He's now facing first-degree murder charges and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon charges in the case of Reginald Bullard, who was killed in the 6400 block of Starbrook Drive. You see this right here. This is that area of town west of downtown Fayetteville, the Aryan Hills area. We're still working to learn more about this investigation, how exactly police were able to zero in on this suspect. We'll bring you those details as soon as we get them.
Eric, thanks for that. The Atlantic hurricane season starts in less than 2 weeks, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration just announced its prediction for the season. Chanley Painter takes a closer look at what millions of people can very soon expect and why officials say there's no time to waste when it comes to prepping.
The Hurricane Center is fully staffed up and we're ready to go.
The 2025 Atlantic hurricane season begins June 1st, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says communities in storm-prone areas should start preparing now for what's expected to be an above-average season.
Specifically, there's a 60% chance of above normal season.
Forecasters are calling for 13 to 19 named storms, of which wind speeds reach 39 miles per hour or higher.
Of these, 6 to 10 are forecast to become hurricanes, and that's when you get to the 74-mile-an-hour mark. And 3 to 5 is the number of major hurricanes. That's Cat 3 and above.
For reference, 18 named storms formed last year, including Hurricanes Helene and Milton. The National Hurricane Center says 2024 was the deadliest hurricane season since 2005.
The 2024 hurricane season outlook that was issued in May last year was right on the money.
But agency officials are confident in yearly technology advancements that help them forecast and track storms more accurately.
Weather prediction, forecasting, modeling is a top priority of ours.
Besides warning of the potential for devastating winds, experts say residents near and far from where hurricanes make landfall can still face deadly storm surge and flooding.
In 2024, inland flooding was one of the most destructive forces, with rainfall totals from Hurricane Helene exceeding 30 inches in communities located hundreds of miles from the coast.
That was Chanley Painter reporting. The WRAL weather team has also broken down what you can expect here in North Carolina from this year's hurricane season. Just go to WRAL.com and search hurricane season.
And there are some key differences between the WRAL hurricane forecast and NOAA's. Elizabeth joins us now to explain why that is.
So the NOAA forecast was for an above average season, and that's definitely what we saw last year. But we're seeing a few changes. Number one, there's several things that we look at when we're determining what a season might look like. One of those is how warm are the ocean temperatures. That's where these storms get their fuel from. This is a look at how much above or below normal those temperatures are right now, even though it's very early and the season hasn't quite begun. You can see right here off the coast of North Carolina, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Caribbean, these yellow and orange shaded areas. So the temperatures there are above normal. But look out here farther into the Atlantic, coming off the coast of Africa. This a little later in the season is where a lot of our storms do develop. And right now the temperatures are below normal. So if they stay that way, we may have some earlier late season storms where the temperatures are a little higher. But of course, we're looking at those cooler temperatures out there in the Atlantic saying, it looks like this is probably going to be an average season. We have a lot more on this whole story on WRAL.com. We have a lot to talk about for the holiday weekend, but if you want to dig into that a little bit deeper, please go to WRAL.com and you can check it out there. We take a look at what's happening outside right now. It's beautiful. We have partly cloudy skies in Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, and Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. Beautiful day today and tomorrow. This high pressure system has delivered this lovely air mass, but down to the south is a front, and eventually that front starts to lift northward. That's going to bring us some rain late Sunday into early Monday morning. And right now, that looks like our main window of rain. Monday for the rest of the day is definitely trending drier. This time yesterday, we were looking at a good chance for rain for the bulk of the day Monday. So this is Sunday at 8 a.m. This is what I was explaining a little bit earlier in the newscast. I was going to show you our high resolution model, and it's pretty dry for us even on Sunday. This is 9 a.m. and you can see partly cloudy skies developing as we head through the afternoon. There's lunchtime, 2 o'clock. So I mean, that's a beautiful afternoon on Sunday. And then pushing this ahead, there's 7 o'clock. So we don't really see a whole lot of rain developing. This model will go out right here till 9 o'clock. Definitely some rain back to the west at that point. But again, the models, the newer runs that keep coming in just look drier and drier. This is the other run of the model. This is a longer range model, a little bit less defined. And it does show some rain by late in the day on Sunday around 6 o'clock or so. But then very quickly that low slides off to the east and it pulls the rain away and keeps us fairly dry on Monday, minus just a few quick sprinkles. So the point is, keep checking back with us all the way through the weekend, and we'll see how the models are trending. But of course, over the last 24 hours, definitely trending a lot drier. Could be a stray shower first thing in the morning on Monday, and then we dry things out. Definitely looking like the potential for the bulk of the rain would be Sunday night. But again, those brand new high resolution models that just came in are pretty dry for us. Now, it does look like Tuesday and Wednesday of next week could be fairly wet. So at that point, we could see maybe 1 inch to 1.25 inches. But things are just looking better and better for our holiday weekend. Our highs will be in the 70s Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And we're looking at, again, that better chance for some rain on Tuesday and Wednesday. And in terms of holiday plans, hopefully that's when we'll see the bulk of it.
Elizabeth, thanks. Advice from a frog. Kermit takes center stage to address a group of graduates.
As you prepare to take this big leap into real life, here's a little advice.
if you're willing to listen to a frog.
I love the faces of the crowd.
Next up, his message to the class of 2025.
I'm Eric Miller in the WRAL Live Center. Just in the last few minutes, long-awaited body camera video in the case of Tyrone Mason has finally been released. WRAL was part of a coalition of media outlets